Hi guys, I'm back. Today I'm going to be doing a video that I have recorded multiple times that I cannot get to upload on YouTube. I do not know why. However, I'm going to be discussing some plans and stuff for books that I want to read. Those books are all of my Stephen King books. I have 9 in total. I have The Shining, Doctor Sleep, which is the sequel to The Shining. I have Carrie. It. I've talked a little bit about this in other videos. The Dark Half. Christine. The Dead Zone. Misery. And last but not least, I have Needful Things, but my mom is borrowing that currently. So something new that I've started doing, because I have 5 Stephen King books, I read them all. So I'll start one, and then I want to read a different one, and then after that I want to read a different one. So I decided that to help, really moving around, but I decided that to help with that, I'm going to do a Stephen King TBR bucket in a old Easter bucket. So I have all the names in here, and last night I was not recording, but around 11, around 11, I picked out, 11 p.m., I picked out a book out of the thing to read. I ended up getting The Shining. First I got Needful Things, which my mom is borrowing, so I couldn't read that. Then I picked out Doctor Sleep twice. I put it back in, and then I picked it out again. And I can't read that without reading the first book in the duology, which is, of course, The Shining. So then I picked The Shining, and I was really excited because I'd actually picked this book up before, and then I put it down because I felt that it was going really slow for my liking. But then I wanted to read all of my Stephen King books, so I picked this back up again because the jar told me to. So now if I get Doctor Sleep, I will be ready to read this when I'm done with this. So basically how it's going to go is I'm going to choose one every time I read a new Stephen King book. So when I'm done The Shining, I will be doing one of these. And then when I'm done with these, I'm going to do it with just random books that I want to read. So yeah, it's really all for that. Next up, I want to talk about my first thoughts / impressions on The Shining by Stephen King. Now, for those of you guys who don't know, The Shining is about a man named Jack Torrance who volunteers in this hotel to take care of it in the off-season, basically the winter, until May, so that when everyone is ready to come back and everyone is off of vacation, just away from the hotel, it will still be there. So his job is basically to take care of the boiler and anything else in the hotel that needs to be taken care of. So, basically, he goes to the hotel with his wife and his son. His wife is named Wendy, and his son is named Danny. So throughout the story, you follow all 3 characters, so it switches perspective. It goes from, it's all in a third-person point of view. It is just a different person that it focuses on in each chapter, or sometimes it'll be the same person 2 times, or it'll be like one person to the person that it was before that person, before it goes on to a different person. So the best example of what I just mentioned is, so far, I'm only on page 36. which is I'm about to start chapter 4. It starts off in Jack's perspective. So we're mainly focusing on Jack in the first chapter. Then we start focusing on Wendy in the second chapter. And then we go back to Jack for the third chapter. And then the fourth chapter goes to Danny. So I find that really interesting because in the movie, we mainly focus on Jack. Or it'll be Wendy and Danny. It's never just, or there's very little times when it focuses mainly on Danny, but then there's scenes that focus on Wendy and Jack, or Jack and himself, or Wendy and Danny, or just like very rarely it was Danny himself. And I've seen the movie. I have never read the book. I picked it up before, but I felt that it was going really slow, so I only got about this much into it. So yeah, this is not a short book by any means. It is 659 pages. However, this book is going by really fast for me. I think that this is the fastest that I've read any Stephen King book, aside from when I started Needful Things, but then I gave that to my mom to borrow. I got to page 62 in Needful Things before I stopped reading it to give it to my mom so that she can borrow it. After I read this, if she's done with Needful Things, I'm hoping that I get Needful Things out of the bucket because I want to read that. And I want to read Misery. Honestly, I want to read all of these books. I've already read Carrie, but I will not be posting a review yet. I will be posting a review for every single book that I read in my free time. I still have to put up the review for To All the Boys I've Loved Before, and I think that's it. I think that's the only book that I own that I've finished as of now. Or actually, no, there's picture books, but I'm not going to be reviewing picture books or like Magic Tree House books just because like I don't mainly read those. But for every Stephen King book that I read, I will be posting a review. So the first review that you will see is The Shining. Now I'm going to talk a little bit more about like my feelings on this book. So the characters. We've met a handful of them, and only a handful of them so far. We've met, I think his name is Stuart Ullman. We've met this guy named Watson. We've met Danny. We've met Wendy, and we've met Jack. Out of all of these people, Jack is the only one who has gotten a full-blown backstory so far. We learn about him breaking his son's arm when he was drunk, and he left the room to go answer the phone, and his son, Danny, got into his papers and his manuscript for a play that he was working on. And Danny dumped Jack's beer all over his play and papers. So when he came back, he grabbed Danny by the arm, twisted his arm, and it broke. So then we learn that Jack has not had a drink in months. In the movie, I believe it is, he hasn't had a drink in like a year or something. I can't remember exactly. It might have been only 5 months, but it also might have been like a year or something. But he hasn't had a drink in a while after that happened. He blames it on him being drunk, and he feels really guilty about that. With Wendy, we haven't really gotten a backstory for her yet, but I know that we probably will. I'm 95% sure that we will get backstory on both Danny and Wendy because Stephen King he has a very dynamic characters. Is that the right word to put it? Diverse character? I don't know. But he has really good characters. He focuses on not only the setting, but the characters, the backstory of the characters, just these little details that make you care just a little bit more about the characters. And with Jack, I'm already feeling not necessarily sorry for him. I feel what he's really going through, like his guilt because of what he did to his son. And how he broke his arm and stuff. And I can just feel that because that is a sign, that is a type of child abuse. Is like if you break your son's arm, if you break your son's leg, something like that, that is child abuse. However, it was an accident. Or so he says it's an accident, but he was drunk, so he didn't really know what he's doing. But after that, he said that he was thinking about how he stood there while his wife Wendy was on the phone with the doctor talking about what happened to Danny. Now with Danny, he's only been in one scene, and that was in chapter 2 when we are focusing on Wendy. She goes outside to talk with Danny because Danny has been sitting outside waiting for his dad for hours. We learned that the Torrance family had just moved to, was it Connecticut or something? I don't know. I can't really remember. Colorado. They moved to Colorado, and so Danny doesn't have a lot of friends. He doesn't really have friends in Colorado because they had just moved there. They moved from his friends and all of that to do something. I don't know yet. But something that is brought up a lot is when Danny's arm got broken. But Danny shows no sign of hatred towards Jack. But then again, he was only 3, and I believe he is 5 years old now, 6 years old. So I think because it said 2 years after. This is like 2 years after the entire arm thing. So he's 5. So he was 3 years old when his arm got broken. So I don't think he would remember it. So I understand why he doesn't hold hatred. But he seems like this relaxed, calm, gentle person. And I already feel like there's going to be just a lot surrounding him. Although I have seen the movie, I don't really remember the movie because I saw it years ago. I was probably like 9-ish when I saw it. And I had only seen the last half of the movie. So I don't know a lot about Danny or Jack or Wendy. I just know that Jack slowly goes mad and tries to kill his family. So another thing was I've actually watched reviews, and I'm the type that will watch reviews, get spoiled, and then I won't care, like in the moment. Sometimes I won't care if I get spoiled at all. Sometimes I will like not care that I heard the spoilers, but then regret hearing the spoilers, like with it or with, I'm trying to think, Harry Potter. I got spoiled for that. I was like, I don't care, but then I started reading Half-Blood Prince. I only have a quarter of it, and I haven't finished it because I got spoiled. I haven't finished it yet because I got spoiled. But I watched Natasha's Stephen King review over on the channel My Reading is Odd. Go subscribe to her if you haven't already. She has an amazing channel. She posts quality content, Stephen King, a lot of Stephen King stuff, and her personality is really fun, although I don't know her personally, but I just really love her channel, so go subscribe to her if you haven't. But she said spoilers, and I knew that. I don't care. I feel like if I start to not enjoy this, when she spoiled the ending and a couple of stuff like in between, it got me to really want to read it that much more. So from here on out, there will be spoilers. So, what Natasha said on My Reading is Odd when I watched um uh the Shining book review was that at the end, Wendy, who in the movie is this weak character, just like the Scream Queen pretty much, she says that she is a really strong character in the book. And at the end of the book, she said that that really shows. So at the end of the book, apparently Wendy saves her and Danny, gets out of the hotel before it blows up or whatever. But in the midst of trying to do that, she gets broken vertebrae in her back, a broken leg, broken ribs, and her ear torn off, and she still manages to get her and her son out. That I can feel like how determined she is. And although I haven't finished the story yet, I still have a while to go. I still have 623 pages left. I haven't gotten to that part ever. But just hearing that made me feel the determination that Wendy Torrance had to get her and her son out of a building that is about to blow up with her murderous husband, insane, like full-blown insane, trying to murder both of them. How she is so determined that she grabs both of them and gets out at the same time. Very, very interesting. I also heard that hedge animals end up coming alive, which sounds fun. But also, I heard that there's this really, like, happy, enlightening scene. Apparently, in somewhere in the book, Jack Torrance is trying to kill his son, and he's chasing Danny or whatever, and there's this moment where he breaks free of the insaneness, the madness, of what's going on with him, and he says, "Hey, I love you. Run, get out of here." So, I felt that Jack actually cared for him, and that it was the spirits that were getting to him and driving him insane. So that's what drove him to trying to kill people. Another interesting thing that I've read about so far, it hasn't gone into full-blown detail, but it does mention a couple of times already in just the beginning of the book. In the first and the third chapter, there are mentions of this guy named something Grady. I forgot what his first name is, but there's this guy named Grady who was the previous caretaker for the off season before Jack. And the last time that Grady was the caretaker, he went insane from the hotel, ended up murdering his 2 daughters with an axe, killed his wife with a shotgun, and then killed himself. So already the hotel is getting like more eerie in that sense, because you think that you don't think, just know that something has gone down there. And they've had many other deaths. In chapter 3, we are mentioned to 1 or 2 more deaths. There's one for sure, where a girl died of an overdose from taking too many sleeping pills and drinking alcohol in the hotel. So we have learned that the hotel already has a bad reputation, or just a reputation in general. So that's really interesting. Overall, I'm really enjoying this book. I think that it will be one of my favorites, if not my favorite. I will update you guys when I am done or halfway through or done. something like that, and on camera I will pull out the next Stephen King book. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you guys subscribing so much. Go check out My Reading is Odd, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.